7th regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez, Councilman Lease,
Present.
Councilwoman Overby. Here. Councilwoman Rogers,
Present.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting, we have 5 public hearings, which will be followed by a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any matter. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And then we have some resolutions to offer. But before we get started, we have our town historian, Hugh King, with us today. Good afternoon, Hugh.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Let's get moving. We had an assignment last time. It was about the Beecher family. And we could start with Councilwoman Rogers, who I believe had Isabella Beecher Hooker.
Yes, I did. And thank you so much. It was so interesting to learn about Isabella and her role in the suffragette movement. Isabella was born on February 22nd, 1822 in Litchfield, Connecticut. And she was the daughter of Reverend Lyman Beecher and a half-sister of Henry Ward Beecher, Catherine Beecher, and Harriet Beecher Stowe. She was educated mainly in schools founded by Catherine. In 1814, she married John Hooker, a law student and descendant of Thomas Hooker, the founder of Hartford, Connecticut. Her interest in law and the legal status of women was first aroused early in her marriage by her husband's reading to her from Blackstone, whose position was that in marriage, man and wife are one person before the law, and that the woman has no separate legal existence. That's known as coverture. So once you're married, you wouldn't be allowed to sign contracts, deeds, own property, et cetera, before Isabella. John Stuart Mill's essay on the enfranchisement of women, which she read in 1861, 10 years after its first appearance, further stimulated her, as did his later The Subjection of Women. Under the influence of Carolyn M. Severance, she overcame her earlier disdain for crusading reformers and became an associate of Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Paulina Wright Davis, and other women's rights advocates. Hooker helped organize the New England Women's Suffrage Association in 1868, and her writings, Mother's Letters to a Daughter on Women's Suffrage, appeared anonymously in Putnam's magazine in November and December of that year. In 1869, she called and presided over the convention that organized the Connecticut Women's Suffrage Association. From 1870 until success was achieved in 1877, she lobbied the Connecticut legislature vigorously in favor of a married woman's property bill drafted by her husband. Isabella was a prominent speaker at the 1870 convention of the National Women's Suffrage Association in Washington, D.C., and she planned and financed a special convention in January of 1870, at which a federal constitution suffrage amendment was drawn up and presented to Congress. For a number of years, she spent much of her time in Washington, D.C., lobbying and testifying on behalf of the amendment. She published Womanhood, Its Sanctities and Fidelities in 1874, and remained active in suffrage work for most of her life, continuing as the president of the state organization until 1905, which was 2 years before her death. She was also involved in planning the first International Convention of Women in 1888.
Wow. And that's one of the unknown Beechers, really. Everyone thinks about Harriet and Henry Ward, but she was a very, very prominent person in her time. Councilwoman Overby, I have nothing to add to that, by the way.
So I had Catherine Beecher,
Yeah.
and Catherine Beecher was born September 6th, 1800 in East Hampton, New York. She was the oldest of the 9 children, the daughter of the outspoken minister and religious leader Lyman Beecher and Roxana Foote Beecher. Among her siblings were writer and abolitionist Harriet Beecher Stowe, along with clergymen Henry Ward Beecher and Charles Beecher. Beecher was educated at home until she was 10 years old, when she was sent to a private school in Litchfield, Connecticut. She took over the domestic duties of her household at the age of 16, following her mother's death. Beecher became a teacher in 1821 at a school in New Haven, Connecticut, and Catherine was engaged to marry Alexander M. Fisher, head of the mathematics department at Yale College, but he died at sea before the wedding took place. Heartbroken, she never married. In 1832, Beecher moved with her father to Cincinnati to campaign for more schools and teachers in the frontier. There, she opened a female seminary, which on account of her failing health was discontinued after just 2 years. Beecher recognized public schools' responsibility to influence the moral, physical, and intellectual development of children. She promoted the expansion and development of teacher training programs, holding that teaching was more important to society than lawyers or doctors. Beecher was a strong advocate of the inclusion of daily physical education and developed a program of calisthenics that was performed to music. This was pre
Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda, thank you. So, she also firmly believed in the benefits of reading aloud. Beecher believed that women have inherent qualities that make them the preferred gender as teachers. As men left teaching to pursue business and industry, she saw the untapped potential of educated women and encouraged education of women to fill the increasing need for teachers. She considered women natural teachers, with teaching as an extension of their domestic role.
The reason we're doing this, the Beechers lived in East Hampton. Where Village Hall is, that's where Catherine Beecher was born, and that's where she first learned from her mother. And there's going to be one other person who lived there, but the reason we're doing the Beechers besides Women's History Month is they lived here in East Hampton, some of them, not Isabella. She was born in Litchfield, but Catherine wasn't. Now, let's skip Supervisor because we're saving him for last. Councilman Lees,
I had Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Oh, there you go. All right.
And since there is some crossover for the family, I might cross over to councilperson.
Of course.
Harriet Beecher Stowe was born June 14, 1811 in Litchfield, Connecticut to Reverend Lyman Beecher, who actually was the fourth minister of the First Presbyterian Church of East Hampton, my home congregation, and Roxana Foote Beecher, and was the sixth child of theirs. When Harriet was 5 years old, her mother died, as just mentioned, and her oldest sister, Catherine, assumed much of the responsibility for raising her younger siblings. Harriet showed early literary promise. At 7, she won a school essay contest, earning praise from her father. Harriet later had pursuits in painting and drawing and honored her mother's talents. As a young girl, Harriet took part in lively debates at the family table by discussing current events and social issues. Harriet learned how to argue very well. She began her formal education at the Sarah Pierce Academy, one of the earliest institutions to encourage girls to study academic subjects in addition to the traditional ornamental arts. In 1824, she became first a student and then later a teacher at the Hartford Female Seminary, founded by her sister, Catherine. In 1832, as mentioned, the 21-year-old Harriet Beecher moved with her family to Cincinnati, Ohio, where her father, Lyman, was appointed the president of the Lane Theological Seminary. It was here in which, in 1829, there were many ethnic Irish that were attacking Blacks, wrecking areas of the city, trying to push out these competitors for their jobs. Beecher met a number of these African Americans who had suffered in those attacks and their experiences, and it contributed later to her writing about slavery. The riots took place again multiple years after that, and were driven also by native-born anti-abolitionists. It was there in Cincinnati where she met Calvin Stowe, who was a professor. 6 of the Stowe's 7 children were born in Cincinnati. And in the summer of 1849, Harriet Beecher Stowe experienced the first time sorrow, as many parents did when they lost their 18-month-old child, Samuel Charles Stowe, who died of cholera. She later credited this crushing pain as one of the inspirations for Uncle Tom's Cabin, because it helped her understand the pain enslaved mothers felt when their children were sold away from them. She eventually moved back to Brunswick, Maine in 1850. Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was born in 1811, perished in 1896, had a writing career of 51 years. She published 30 books and countless short stories, poems, articles, and hymns. She learned early that her writing contributed to the family income. In her writing, Stowe publicly expresses her thoughts, beliefs in a time when women were discouraged from public speaking and could not vote or hold office. She published more than 30 books, including, as I mentioned, Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was in 1851, when she was 40, the first installment, Uncle Tom's Cabin, was published in the serial form in the newspaper, The National Era. She was paid $400 then for Uncle Tom's Cabin when it was published in a book form in 1852. It had 5,000 copies at that time. Each of the 2 volumes that came after included 3 illustrations, and in less than a year, the book sold an unprecedented 300,000 copies. Stowe wrote many of her best-known works after Uncle Tom's Cabin in Hartford, The American Women's Home, Lady Byron Vindicated, and others. And in the end, she believed her actions could make a positive difference. I do believe her words changed the world.
Thank you. Lyman Beecher, her father, left East Hampton because we didn't pay him enough money. Okay? So he was only here for like 10 years. So he moves to Connecticut where she's born. Can you imagine how the world would have changed if he had stayed here? She may not have written that book, which was very, very influential in during the Civil War. So fate just intervened and he moved. And then she wrote the book. But if he stayed here, she may not have written that book. And, the whole thing could have changed. Councilwoman Gonzalez has Roxana Beecher, and we'll save that for when she comes back. Roxana Beecher was the mother of Harriet Beecher Stowe and Isabella Beecher Hooker and Catherine Beecher. And she had a school in East Hampton in Village Hall, which we'll talk about next time. And now, finally, we come to Henry Ward Beecher. And the supervisor, I think, has some information about him.
I do have some information about him, and he may not have been born if they had stayed here either. He was born in Litchfield, Connecticut, June 24th, 1813. He was an American Congregationalist clergyman, a social reformer, and a speaker known for his support for the abolition of slavery. It seems that all the Beechers were somehow social reformers and active in very many ways, and also known for their writing skills as well. He was the son of Lyman Beecher, the Calvinist minister. He became one of the best-known evangelists of the time. A number of his siblings, as has been said, were educators, activists, such as Harriet Beecher Stowe. And he graduated from Amherst College in 1834 and Lane Theological Seminary in 1837 before serving as a minister in Indianapolis and Indiana. In 1847, he became the first pastor of Plymouth Church in Brooklyn, New York, and became a very famous lecturer, speaking all over on a number of topics. But Henry became interested in social reform, especially the abolitionist movement. In the years leading up to the Civil War, he raised money for purchase of slaves from captivity, and he sent rifles out to the abolitionists fighting in Kansas, and those rifles were also nicknamed Beecher's Bibles. And he also toured Europe during the Civil War, speaking in support of the Union cause. After the war, Beecher continued to support social reform causes such as the women's suffrage and temperance movements. He also championed Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, stating that it was not incompatible with Christian beliefs. He was widely rumored to be an adulterer. In 1872, Woodhull and Claflin's Weekly published a story about his affair with Elizabeth Richards Tilton, the wife of his friend and former co-worker Theodore Tilton. Elizabeth was American suffragette and founder of the Brooklyn Women's Club and a poetry editor of The Revolution, the newspaper of the National Women's Suffrage Association, founded by women's rights advocates Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. Elizabeth Tilton also served as the executive committee of the American Equal Rights Association. In 1874, Theodore Tilton filed charges for criminal conversation, which is a euphemism for adultery, basically, against Beecher. Criminal conversation. The trial resulted in a hung jury. It was one of the most widely reported trials of the century. So it's sort of like O.J. Simpson or what have you. Interesting, in reading about this, Woodhull and Claflin Weekly was a newspaper that was established by the activist suffragette and her sister, Victoria Woodhull and Tennessee Claflin. She was the first woman to operate a brokerage firm on Wall Street and one of the first women to found a paper in the United States in 1870, Woodhull and Claflin's Weekly. First woman nominated to run for president of the United States, which she wouldn't have been able to do anyway because she was under the age of 35. And as you may know, you have to be at least 35 years old to hold the office of president. And that was in the 1872 election. And Frederick Douglass was her running mate.
Oh, wow.
Unbeknownst to him, which is also kind of a curious footnote. So you could see all of these people are all interconnected between the abolitionist movement and the suffragette movement. And I think I actually was a little more fascinated with Victoria Woodhull's biography.
That's another whole story, is right.
Yeah. It was a 16-page paper, and the slogan was progress, free thought, untrammeled lives. Wherever I find a social carbuncle, I shall plunge my surgical knife of reform into it up to the hilt.
Well, Victoria Woodhull published this affair that supposedly Beecher was having. So then they arrested her for sending pornographic material through the mail. But she was undaunted.
Added to her campaign coverage.
Thank you. That's great research. And the world was considered to be made up of saints, sinners, and the Beechers. All right. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on now to our public hearings. We have 5 of them, as I stated earlier. The first is Fresh Pond Road Grassland Preserve Draft Management Plan. Carol, if you'd read the notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in Town Hall, 159 Panicle Road on Thursday, April 7th at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard to consider comments of all persons on the proposed draft management plan for the Fresh Pond Road Grassland Preserve, Suffolk County Tax Map 300, 152, 1.2. A full text of the management plan is available for inspection on the town's website or at the town clerk's office. Comments may be submitted in person or by agent at the time of the hearing in writing delivered to the town clerk prior to the date and time of the hearing, addressed to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, or by email addressed to cbrennan@ehamptony.gov and received before the date and time of the public hearing.
Thank you, Carol. I see we have Rick Whalen here, who's the chair of the Nature Preserve Committee. You have some comments to make to introduce this, Rick?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Peter. Richard Whalen, I'm the chair of the Town Nature Preserve Committee. Good to see you all today. So we have 2 public hearings. Both of them, I think, on very, very interesting small but very, very interesting town nature reserves. So the first one here, the Fresh Pond Road Grassland Preserve, is on Fresh Pond Road in Amagansett. If you go east on Fresh Pond Road and past the South Fork Country Club, continue in the direction of the bay. On the right-hand side, you will see just before Suffolk County, well building now, there's a field on the right or south side of Fresh Pond Road. So the town preserve is around 6.23 acres, not very large, but it's really one of the most interesting properties that the town owns, certainly acre for acre. The history, the background of this is it's the remnant of a 20-acre parcel of land that Pete Bistrian bought in 1947. And I've talked to members of the Bistrian family. That was used as a marl pit for many, many years. And not surprisingly, as for more what I'll tell you about the actual physical characteristics of the property. So that was almost all of the property was excavated, not all of it, as I'll explain, but it was mostly dug out, and it was a good site for marl. Marl, of course, is a mix of clay and sand. So you have to have clay in the soil, and there is definitely clay underlying that property. So the town bought the property in 2012. The family had revegetated it just beforehand, planted grass. And so what you have today is you have an open field that runs south from Fresh Pond Road. Going downhill, there is a seep or spring essentially within the field, the upper end of the field, and drains into the lower area. And there's usually, depends on the time of the year, usually there is standing water at the lower part of the field. At the bottom end of the field, just south end of the property suddenly rises steeply up a steep wooded slope. This is not part of the property that was excavated. The slope is natural. It's a part of the glacial moraine, and then rises to the woods behind. It's one of the steepest natural slopes in the town of East Hampton. You can go down there and say, "I'll walk up that hill." It's obviously wooded, very, very steep natural slope. The back end of this property, if you go back there and you've got the wooded hill behind you, and you got woods on the left. You can't see Fresh Pond Road from that back corner. It's one of the quietest, most peaceful places in town. It's just a beautiful spot. You've got the meadow in front of you. You have this little wetland down the lower end of the rise to your in front. Beautiful, beautiful spot. I highly recommend people go there. The chief recommendation in the management plan is to maintain the field. The field is most of the property, and it's obviously the area that was dug out and then was planted with grass. It's what makes the property unique. If this whole property grew up into woodland, it would not be nearly as interesting as it is today, visually and in terms of wildlife and vegetation and so forth. The key part of the management plan is to maintain the field, which would require annual or maybe biannual mowing by the town.
Thank you, Ray.
So, but I highly recommend people checking it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wish to speak on this public hearing? Jason, do we have any callers on the line?
Mr. Supervisor, we have 2 callers on the line. I will unmute now to figure out which hearing they would like to speak on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, unmuting the first. Hello, caller ending 4718. You're on the air. Which hearing would you like to speak on? One second. Let's make absolutely sure. I'm just going to double check that we have the phone lines fully operational. Give me a second.
Hello, Town Board. Can you hear me, Maroon?
Yes, we can. Are you calling for the Grassland Preserve Management Plan?
No, it's just Jason just double checking the line. The other person's not picking up their phone. Just wanted to make absolutely sure that we had fidelity. I apologize for
I didn't recognize your
confusion.
You sound so different.
You sound so different on the phone. Thank you.
Unmuting next caller. Hello, caller ending 1213. You're on the air. Hello.
Thank you. Hello, my name's Claudia Bramer, and I'm here for the airport public hearing. Thank
Understood. That'd be Chapter 75. We'll have. I have that noted. Thank you again. And on that note, we have no other real callers.
So no one else wishing to speak on this matter. I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, would you read the next public hearing notice?
Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 159 Panago Road on Thursday, April 7th at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard to consider comments of all persons on the draft management plan for the Gold Art Pond Preserve, Suffolk County Tax Map 300, 126, 1, 14.33, 34, 35, and 40. A full text of the management plan is available for inspection at the town's website or in the town clerk's office. Comments may be submitted in person or by agent at the time of the hearing or in writing delivered to the town clerk prior to the date and time of the hearing, addressed to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, or by email addressed to cbrennan@ehamptony.gov and received before the date and time of the public hearing.
Thank you, Carol. Rick, you have any comments on this public hearing?
Once again, Richard Whalen, Chair of the Town Nature Preserve Committee. This is another small town nature preserve, also in Amagansett. This is off the west side of Springs Old Stone Highway, or Springs Amagansett Road, on a lane called La Forêt Lane, which is in Bell Estate Section 1. Bell Estate Section 1 was a 1979 subdivision. It was the first part of the old Bell Estate to be subdivided. And it was a grid style subdivision, so really no open space was preserved. We've actually been able to turn back the clock a little bit here. This parcel is about 8.7 acres. It constitutes 4 of the lots in the Bell Estate subdivision. One of them actually did have a house on it. And when the town bought this property, or bought the most recent 2 lots, including where the pond is, I'll talk about the pond in a moment, were purchased by the town in 2019. The woman who owned that had bought those lots in 1987, I think, and 1992, respectively, and had a house on it from about the mid-1980s. The unique part of the property is that it's a 33,000 square foot man-made pond. There was a natural kettle hole on that side of La Forêt Lane. An owner prior to Mrs. Goldart built the pond. We don't know exactly when, but probably in around 1982. And then the Goldarts built a house there. The house has been removed. The property is returned pretty much to its natural state, except, of course, it has a man-made pond. It's a very, very beautiful pond. I won't get into too much detail, but we've had some interesting visitors who have arrived and had set up, are now living on the property above the pond.
Me wildlife, right? Just to be
Yes,
clear.
avian wildlife, and which surprised us all. And they've been there since 2000, which was actually the season after the house came down. So there are really no special management requirements here. Obviously, we want to maintain the pond, which appears to require no work, because since the Goldarts left, I mean, I think they did have a pump. I don't know how much they used it, but the pond has maintained its level even in the absence of any man-made interaction. So it's a lovely spot, another wonderful little piece of property, and highly recommend people visit it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Does anyone else wish to speak on this matter? I'll entertain a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. Carol, if you read the next hearing notice, please.
Notice is hereby given the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, April 7th, or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider comments of all persons regarding a local law amending Chapter 167, littering and dump control, an abstract of which follows. The purpose of the proposed changes are to expand the definition of litter to include gravel, loam, dirt, and other debris, to prohibit drag out on public roadways. The contents of any vehicle within the town containing yard waste must be covered and secured. A copy of the full proposed local law can be reviewed on the town's website and can also be obtained from the office of the town clerk during regular business hours. Comments may be submitted in person or by agent at the time of the hearing or in writing delivered to the town clerk prior to the date and time of the hearing, addressed to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, in East Hampton, or by email addressed to cbrennan@ehamptony.gov and received before the date and time of the public hearing.
Thank you, Carol. Does anyone wish to speak on this matter? It's Bob, and then I'll come to you, Carolyn. If you would please state your name for the record.
My name is Robert Pine. I'm a resident of Springs, and I'm in charge of a small group of people called Corridor Watch. I would like to thank the board for bringing up this amendment to the litter law. The drag out from many of the commercial spots along Springs Fireplace Road, but obviously elsewhere in the town, is very, very bad for sightliness, health, etc. And I'm glad to see that the town is conforming their regulations with the county regulations, so that owners will be responsible for not dragging out mud, dirt, etc. from their property onto town or county roads in the town. Thank you all very much for doing this. I would also like to say, I'm hoping that the revision of or the startup again of the Town Litter Committee will have everyone's support, and that it will become active in trying to improve the litter in the town as well, which has become extraordinarily unsightly. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to come and speak to us, Bob. Carolyn?
Sorry. Mr. Supervisor, we have two additional callers on the line. I thought you were talking to somebody else there for a second. My apologies.
We'll go back to the phone lines after the in-person folks have had a chance.
Thank you for letting me speak. It's so nice to see you all in 3 dimensions.
It's a pleasure to see you too,
Absolutely,
Carolyn.
Thank you. I'd like to read the following statement to Supervisor Van Spock and members of the East Hampton Town Board. On behalf of, my name is Carolyn Logan Gluck, and I'm Chair of the Wayne Scott Citizens Advisory Committee. On behalf of the Wayne Scott Citizens Advisory Committee, I would like to express the entire committee's support for the local law amending the Town Code Chapter 167, littering and dump control, regarding yard waste, prohibiting soil, dirt, gravel, or sand from any source whatsoever from being dragged out onto the public highway has long been a goal of the WCAC. For years, Wayne Scott residents have expressed their concerns about the deposition of such materials, especially from CI-zoned properties in Wayne Scott, along the roadside and across neighboring properties. This is detrimental to the health and safety of people in the community and to the natural environment as well. Sand dunes accumulate along the roadsides. Nearby retail businesses find surfaces constantly covered with dust. Vehicles driving over areas where such materials have been tracked raise particles into the air and have a detrimental impact on the air we breathe. These depositions also find their way into the water, especially at Georgica Pond, a compromised water body, as you well know. The amendment to Chapter 167 is an important step in addressing these serious problems that affect not only Wayne Scott, but other hamlets as well. The WCAC urges the town board to move forward with adopting this measure to eliminate dragout and genuinely hopes it will be strictly enforced. Sincerely, myself on behalf of the CAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Good to see you. Anyone else wish to address? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hi, thanks for seeing me. Thank you, Board and Supervisor. My name is Chris Armskog. I'm with PW Grosser Consulting. I'm an environmental consultant. I'm here speaking in part of one of my clients who is an industrial operator owner along Springs Fireplace Road. Although everyone agrees with the need for litter control, some of our feelings are that there might be more proactive ways to address this. So I'm going to read a few bullet points, which we'd be happy to discuss in more length later on. But I want to keep it to the 3-minute time frame. So initially, the notice, we were given an impression that it had to do with to provide property owners with the right to hearing when served with notice to remove their litter. It appears that the law has more to do with defining what litter is. So that was something that the client just wanted to bring up and talk about, just the notice versus the actual amendment. It is our feeling that the law itself doesn't really address the underlying problem with the drag out. It does, have some punitive effects and fines, but there are many engineering controls and having to do with building department and permits up front that might be able to address the problem more proactively than possibly targeting certain individuals. let's see. We basically, some of my clients feel that the law is partially in response to, again, things along Springs Fireplace Road. I do represent Bistrian Materials. I'm sorry, I should have said that up front, at 175 Springs Fireplace Road. And we feel as some of these issues, focus specifically on Springs Fireplace Road. But as this bill, this legislation would affect much more than that area: farmers, construction sites, everything else throughout the town. So we're basically, one of the sites we wanted to talk about was even Washington Drive off Springs Fireplace Road, which is a dirt urban renewal road, which technically is, almost graded onto Springs Fireplace Road. It's just a dirt road. I know my client has been in contact about possibly repairing that and putting down a sub base, removing some of the dirt so that area could be improved. Things like that. He's more than willing to kind of get involved in putting down like a recycled aggregate to help with the drag out. Because one of the issues we see is a lot of construction sites, the town doesn't have a requirement for tracking pads in part of their building permit process, as opposed to something like a place like Southampton that does. And that could substantially reduce a lot of the drag out that you see from construction sites and industrial facilities throughout the town. It's the feeling that, the town is looking to pass a law that inevitably sets up a situation where enforcement against and is targeted against, individual operators. And it'll be tricky to kind of basically how the law is applied equally, throughout the town. And that's one of the concerns we have. If anyone wants to be targeted against this law, it's fairly easy to set up code enforcement right outside. And again, to talk about, my client, he's currently in the process of repaving his operations at Spring Fireplace Road. Again, to reduce it, he does have pavement in certain portions of the site. He's going to be repairing that. And also, he does have a large drag out pad as well. He also does, at his own expense, he street sweeps the area in front of his site and does litter removal quite frequently. If the town looked, after a major snowstorm where the town itself spread sand down, you could see that area of Springs Fireplace Road is probably cleaner than many others because of some of his initiatives that he's already taken. So again, it's our feeling that if the town, we'd be more than willing to work with the town or a committee to look at some proactive measures in order to reduce this, rather than it being a follow-up measure where you're targeting or potentially targeting individuals for one reason or another. Let's see. So again, the recommendation is the town first consider investigating, addressing the root causes, have a meeting with some of the stakeholders. Again, my client owns several properties. He said no one from the town has approached him about this issue and discussed it with him to get his input. Obviously, he has a lot of the know-how how to address these on certain construction sites, industrial sites. Be more than willing to kind of get involved and talk about proactive measures to address this, up front, so it's not a continuing problem going out throughout the town. So again, very committed. He's very committed to kind of cleanliness and the overall improvement of the town. We agree that litter, should be addressed. That's not what we're getting against. It's just more being proactive than looking at, punitive damages for potential individuals who might be targeted by this legislation. So again, I'd be happy to speak afterwards or in future detail with the town. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And it's good to see people back in person again. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? David, did you want to make a comment?
Good afternoon, town board members. I'm David McMaster. I'm the assistant town attorney who drafted this law with councilperson Brooke Gonzalez. And I just would like to respond briefly to the comments made by the last speaker. I see that there's no reason that the law can't be enforced in tandem with the other engineering measures that were spoken of. And I think that the combination of the two would address the situation in a way that would be most effective. But I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. And, far from targeting a specific individual, the purpose of regulation is, there's an element of deterrence, and that is the goal. I would submit that there is no individual targeting that went into the motivation of drafting this law. And briefly, too, the town board also received correspondence from Andrew Strong about this, and I just wanted to address the points in that letter that speak to the collateral consequences related to a conviction on someone's immigration status. That is a concern that, from my experience in the DA's office in Brooklyn for 8 years, that relates to any kind of what's referred to a crime of moral turpitude or offensive moral turpitude. There's nothing unique or specific about this. The other litter violations are misdemeanors. This would have no particular negative effect on someone's immigration status, and the collateral consequences wouldn't be any different. And as the town's prosecutor, I can assure you that I take those potential collateral consequences into effect. I'm aware of the strictures of People v. Padilla, and I understand, what that's all about. And nobody is going to be deported over an immigration issue related to this. I work out some kind of disposition that didn't have the collateral consequences. So that's all I would like to say.
Thank you, David. Anyone else wish to address the board on this matter? I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
We still have a few callers on the line
we do.
we go to. All right. So with that said, let me start unmute.
And Jason, I just got a text message that the sound is problematic on the YouTube channel.
I was just
You can
checking.
check that as well.
I was just checking the YouTube channel a few seconds ago, and it sounds. No, I'm listening to it right now, even on my phone as I'm talking to you. It sounds.
Okay. Yeah, we hear the feedback.
Yeah, the feedback's crystal clear. All right. So with that said, I'm going to, and also the sound is crystal clear on the phone line as well. So with that said, I'd like to unmute our callers. All right. So, caller ending 4718, you are on the air. Hello.
Hey, it's me. Sorry, Andrew Strong calling in.
Thank you.
Thanks for hearing me. Sorry, I can't be there in person. I'm under the weather, and I think it's probably a bad moment to come in person when you're symptomatic. But I wanted to call in just to follow up on the letter that I sent, and I heard the town attorney, and I appreciate the sentiments that he put forward. My experience with David is he's very thoughtful on these matters as well. I think my concern is that once you put a law in the books, you're putting it on not just for this administration, but for the future. And the critical distinction to me is do we want as a town to be creating a situation where tracking mud onto the highway is a criminal misdemeanor rather than a violation? It seems like if deterrence is the goal of this legislation, a fine and having to show up on a violation would deterrence for tracking mud onto the highway, and so I just would be very cautious about putting things onto the book that are criminal misdemeanors, where you're saying, well, it's on the book as a criminal misdemeanor, but we're not going to prosecute it as such, because prosecutors change, the town boards change, and what's left, our permanent records and our immigration complications. And I can tell you that regardless of whether this specifically triggers a Padilla removal, having a criminal record is a hugely complicating thing for a lot of people in this town, of all immigration statuses. So I just would be real. So I'm alarmed. I personally, it is enough to have me call in to see a criminal misdemeanor for something like tracking mud. I also feel like the language feels to me dangerously vague, is how I put it in my letter. What does it mean to track dirt onto a public highway? I know the town board has good intentions here, and I understand what the intentions are. I've talked to Bob Pine about what they're after. But when I read this language, I can see it easily being interpreted in ways that it's not intended to be. And I think of farmers traveling between fields on town lane, tracking mud onto the road. I think of any construction worker driving across a construction site. And I think that vagueness coupled with a criminal misdemeanor penalty it gives me a lot of pause. So that's where my concern really stems from. And I also feel like there's a path here to target the businesses. If the businesses are the problem, you can say, hey, install a track pad, sweep the road, do dust mitigation. Those are concrete things that you could require them to do that would address the root cause. The obligation would be on the business, and it wouldn't touch on individuals. You'd never have anybody in a situation with a different prosecutor, with a different town board, cited for dragging mud from their truck onto the road. And so that seems to me like a more direct way to solve the problem. The final point I just want to raise is just with the language of putting this soil and loam into the definition of litter, I think complicates things as well. I just was reading the law. It says no person shall throw or deposit litter on any occupied private property. It's a highly sensible restriction. But if litter is also soil, you either have to ignore the law if you're talking about landscaping or gardening, or that part is not legal on the plain language of this law. And it just seems to me that you could accomplish the same thing by moving that language into its own definition and then restricting it directly rather than trying to shoehorn it into the definition of litter. And I think you can target this. You can get the same result more directly without some of the collateral damage that I think can happen, even with the very best intentions. And I'm confident that both the town attorney and the town board have the very best intentions here. But I do feel sensitive to seeing the penalties where they are and some of the language as vague as this, because I think that sets up problems in the future. That's all I have to say. I appreciate the town board's patience. I know that you have a lot of balls in the air, and I just am thankful for the thought. So I'll stop talking there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate those comments. Anyone else wish to address the board on this matter?
I also have two new callers, and now I'd like to go through them to see if they would like to talk on this hearing as well.
Thank you, Jason.
Hello, caller ending 9034. Would you like to talk on this public hearing?
Yes, I would.
All right, fantastic. You are on live with the board. Thank you.
Hello, East Hampton Town Board. It's Sarah Davison from the Friends of Georgia Capon Foundation, and I'm calling in support of the amendment to the Litter Code, Chapter 167. I wanted to just quickly address the water quality impacts of what this problem. In Wainscott, sediment is carried out on the tires of vehicles who are exiting the ready-mix cement plant and the masonry yard. And this sediment often accumulates on Montauk Highway and is washed directly downhill into Georgia Capon. We see that foreign sediment at the kayak launch at the Route 27 rest stop. In addition to flowing directly into the pond, the sediment also can overwhelm the existing drainage basins along Route 27 and preventing them from functioning properly. And again, when the drainage basins are completely full of sediment and other detritus, stormwater will run directly into the pond, carrying with it potentially pathogenic bacteria. As you probably know, there have been many samplings for many years of the water there, and regularly finds high bacterial levels, with indicating stormwater runoff. So we hope that you will enact this amendment, and we think the enforcement will help improve water quality throughout our town. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Jason, do we have any other callers on the line for this hearing?
We have one other caller. I have to check. And hello, caller ending 4270. You're on the air. Hello. One more time. Caller 4270. Hello. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, fantastic. Would you like
Can
to
you
talk
hear
on
me?
this hearing?
Yes, I would.
All right, fantastic. You are live with the board right now.
Thank you. My name is Hersey Egginton. I live on Hedges Lane, which adjoins the old Montauk Highway and adjacent to the sand and gravel operation. We are here for 40 plus years and have witnessed over those years trucks coming out of the cement plant and exiting onto Montauk Highway at the southern junction of Old Montauk Highway and Montauk Highway. And we often encounter those trucks coming and going, and the clouds of dust make it difficult to just negotiate the traffic. And as Sarah Davidson and Carolyn Logan Gluck have testified, the amount of sediment that they bring up, because it's an incline when they exit at that point from the cement plant. The dust is extraordinary. So anything that can be done to ameliorate that, we would be in firm support of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hersey. Do we have anyone else in the line, Jason?
With that said, we have no one else new to talk on this hearing.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, if you'd read the next hearing notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 159 Panago Road on Thursday, April 7th at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider comments of all persons with regard to the proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 255 Zoning, Article 11, Uses and Dimensions, to add outdoor dining at restaurants, providing for an administrative permit for the transfer of indoor restaurant dining seating to outdoor seating, an abstract of which follows. A local law to create a program to provide for an administrative permit to be issued by the planning department to allow for the transfer of legally existing restaurant seating from the interior restaurant area to the outdoor areas on the restaurant property or upon adjoining property subject to certain conditions and limitations. Adjoining property proposed to be used for outdoor dining must be zoned to allow for restaurant use or to allow such use by special permit. Outdoor dining shall be limited to the service of the restaurant food and beverages incidental to the service of food. Dining capacity that may be transferred pursuant to the proposed administrative permit is as follows: central business, waterfront, recreational overlay, resort, commercial, industrial, and commercial service zoning districts up to 100%, neighborhood business and limited business overlay or any other non-residential zoning or zoning overlay districts up to 75%. Restaurants which are pre-existing non-conforming restaurants for the zoning district in which they are located are not eligible for the transfer of indoor dining seating to outdoor dining pursuant to the administrative permit. A copy of the full proposed local law can be reviewed on the town's website and can also be obtained in the office of the town clerk during regular business hours. Comments may be submitted in person or by agent at the time of the hearing or in writing delivered to the town clerk prior to the date and time of the hearing, addressed to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, or by email addressed to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov and received before the date and time of the public hearing.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the board on this matter? Jason, do we have anyone else on the line?
Yes, we have one new caller. I'm unmuting now.
Good afternoon. It's David Buddha. And Jason, I also would like to speak on during the public comment portion.
Understood. Thank you, David.
I'm calling with regard to this hearing. I, like most people, enjoy eating out when the weather permits and the facilities can accommodate it. However, I have to say that I am concerned that the allowance of 100% transfer of seating from inside to outside can be problematical and will create occupancy enforcement nightmares for your limited staff. I think it's overly generous to allow a restaurant to move 100% of its indoor seating number outdoor, even with an approved plan by the fire marshal and approval for any heating fixtures and tents, etc. And there's one other problem that perhaps has not been addressed. I would think just about every restaurant in town has a liquor license. And although the state liquor authority has adopted rules that make it very easy for a liquor licensee in the restaurant business to serve liquor on adjacent public property, such as sidewalks, where the town allows it, or the municipality allows it. Generally speaking, it's my understanding that the liquor authority likes to know the dimensions of a licensed area and likes to have some kind of limitations and confines, either separation by fencing or some means of knowing where the alcohol will be consumed and not just become a free, open wandering of people around an undefined area. So I think that that's an issue that you have to deal with, whether or not this will allow people automatically to use their liquor licenses outside the premises, which have not been previously approved by the liquor authority for being a licensed area. I think that if it were limited to 50% instead of 100%, I think that as an initial experiment and trial period, I think you would be able to have a better handle and the ability to deal with any issues that may arise. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Jason, do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no other callers on the line. And David, if you would do me a favor of staying on the line, and we'll cycle back to you for public comment. Thank you again.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, if you'd read the last hearing notice for today.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held on April 7th at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this can be heard at Town Hall 159 Panago Road to hear any and all persons with regard to a proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 75 Airport of the East Hampton Town Code, said local law to read herein as set forth. A local law amending Chapter 75 Airport of the East Hampton Town Code, said local law to read as follows. Section 75 Airport for the Town Code of the Code of the Town of East Hampton is hereby amended to read in its entirety as posted and published.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone here wish to speak on this matter? Do we have any other callers on the line, Jason?
Yes, we do. I have one caller who wished to talk on this Chapter 75. Unmute now.
Thank you.
Hello, caller ending 1213. Thank you for your patience, and you are on. You are live right now with the town board.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Good afternoon. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you very much. This is Claudia Bramer. I'm an attorney with Bramer Law, representing the Coalition to Transform East Hampton Airport. Our advisory committee is made up of people who are all residents of East Hampton. These are our comments on the proposed airport law. Currently, it looks like Chapter 75 as amended is a shell for future adoption of rules and regulations and the PPR framework. As far as we understand it, the rules and regulations and the framework have not yet been finalized, so we are asking that you not adopt the airport law without knowing the details of all of those proposed rules and regulations. Additionally, we have taken a look at the draft proposed rules and regulations, and we suggest to you that they need to be much stronger. You need to add meaningful restrictions to the airport operations to protect residents of East Hampton and the surrounding communities, as well as the natural resources from negative impacts of the airport operations. You as a board have expressed great interest in protecting air and water and fighting to protect your residents and other people in the community from the negative impacts of the airport. And we urge you to take action now to close the airport when you do in May, and to keep it closed until you have completed the DGEIS process that you are undertaking for the future airport operations. And this leads me to my final point. You cannot segment this review of the local law from the consideration of the operational standards that you will be putting into place in the new airport at some point in future time. Under the secret regulations, you should be considering this as one combined action. Once the airport is closed, then you can take all the time that you need to analyze all of the negative impacts that have already been identified by your positive declaration. Make sure that you assess those carefully and undertake all the analysis that you need to understand how you are going to mitigate or eliminate the adverse impacts of the airport. If you are serious about this, we ask you to keep the airport closed in May until you undertake that review in consideration and in consolidation with the DGEIS process you already have underway. Given all of that, we ask that you keep this public hearing open for further consideration. Thank you for hearing our comments today.
Thank you for calling, Claudia. Jason, do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no other callers on the line.
I'll entertain a
wait,
motion.
one second. Someone's just calling in right now. I apologize, but it's just, and I am unmuting. Hello, caller. Do you mind muting your TV in the background?
Yes. Hello.
Can you turn off your device in the background, please?
Oh, all right.
If you are serious about this, we ask you.
It was the meeting that I had on.
I understand.
Okay, it's off now.
Thank you very much. Well, you are live on the air with the town board.
Good afternoon. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes.
Yes, you're
Peter
on.
M.
You're
Wolf.
on. Oh, hello, Peter. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm fine. Calling you from way away, but I just wanted to weigh in and tell you how much I appreciate what you're trying to do and to get this thing right. I have just two comments on what I've read. One is to remember that the citizens, we all own the airport, and there ought to be mechanisms when you get it opened again, or if you do open it again, the citizens have some rights to speak about it instead of having an airport czar, which is how I read it. The second thing is that in doing the DGEIS, there's no way to evaluate all of the options unless you keep the airport closed long enough to see what it's like with it closed, because that's one of the options that has to be evaluated under CEQA. That is the option of doing nothing, and you cannot do nothing until the airport's closed. Anyway, those are my very brief comments. I hope that they're getting through to you. I can't tell. I'm trying to watch it on TV from New Orleans, but I can't tell what's happening. Thanks so much, and best wishes to everybody.
Thanks for calling, Peter. We appreciate your comments. Jason, do we have anyone else on the line?
We currently have no other callers on the line for this
I'll
for this.
entertain a motion.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. That concludes our public hearings. We now move to public portion. Anyone here in the room wish to address the board on any matter? Yes, George, come on up to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is George Ammon. I live on 1 High Ridge Road in East Hampton. I'm also a senior citizen. I know it may be hard to notice that, but I am. And I've been going fairly regularly to the senior center for lunches. And I must commend the folks that provide those for the fine work they do and the courteous attention they give to all of us older folks. But I'm concerned simultaneously with where we are on the creation of a new senior center that occurred, 8 years ago. There was a committee that created a rather comprehensive study of what the new center should look like and the programs that should be part of it. It's taken an awful long time for any action to be taken. So my question is, where are we on the physical creation of a senior center?
So George, we have acquired property off of Abraham's Path. I think we're going to initially it's 7 acres. We have offer first refusal on the remaining 7 acres of that property. It's immediately adjacent to Sport Time. We've hired engineer architects to go through a public engagement process and to design the structure. We will bond for it and we will build it as soon as we get through the public engagement process. That's underway.
Any sense of how much time it'll be before the process moves along?
Well, it's been moving along. I think if you want to know how long will it be till a new senior center opens, I would say it's 2 to 3 years, probably, reasonably speaking.
Some of us may age out.
Understand that.
Others may leave the area.
You know, we have seen an increase in the number of people who are eligible, if you will, to take advantage of senior services within the township. And part of our concern was the site of the existing senior center just wasn't going to be big enough to address that growing demographic. So we want to make sure it was in a location where it could be built with excess capacity to address the increasing demographic, and also be related to other services and activities nearby. So it took almost 2.5 years, I think, in order to locate a property and acquire that property. We're very pleased to have been able to do that. And as I said, we've hired H2, I believe is the company, and they are currently working on a public engagement plan. So stay tuned. We're going to want to engage you in that conversation.
I hope I'm still available.
Well, we hope so. Thank you for coming in. Anyone else wish to address the board in public comments within the room? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Peter Jacob. I'm from the Hampton Waters Property Owners Association. That's the neighborhood off of Springy Banks in the Oyster Shores, Oyster Pond area. It's my first time before the board, and I appreciate the opportunity. In recent years, past 2 or 3 years, we've all noticed an increase in the number of young families in the neighborhood. Also an increase in the number of family pets in the neighborhood. And it's something that we've brought up at our neighborhood meetings, at our board meetings, and at our full neighborhood meeting, that it would be beneficial for the streets of our neighborhood to reduce the speed limit, the miles per hour, from 30, which it currently is, and there's signage for that, to 25. There's a lot of good reasons for it, and I don't think right now is the time to get into all of the logic of it. Probably you know a lot of it.
Sure.
Something specific to our neighborhood is that we are not a thoroughfare to anywhere. All of the streets terminate within our neighborhood. So nobody's going someplace else, and we wouldn't be slowing anybody down. So I'm here to ask what would be the process, how we would petition the board to accomplish this.
Sure. And I understand those concerns. And, we've had concerns in various places in town and have sought to reduce the speed limit. However, under New York State town law, we don't have authority to reduce speed limit below 30 miles per hour within a township without getting a special home rule designation from the state legislature, which we have applied to, I think, 5 or 6 times since I've been in office. And we've been turned down at every opportunity. So unless it was a school zone, that speed limit can't go below 30. Villages have a different standard, different rule. And as you may know, Sag Harbor reduced their speed limit.
I do know.
The entire village to 20 miles per hour, with the exception of, I think, the state roadways.
Right.
So that's where our hands are pretty well tied. You could make a formal request to the town board, which we could forward to the legislature, but I don't hold out much hope for any kind of a positive response at this point, having been through this exercise no less than 5 times in 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Others have come to you with this kind of issue. Yes. Have other ideas been floated to
one of the
traffic?
Things, sure. One of the things that that we can do is we can make the police chief aware, so they can send some enforcement within the neighborhood. Often we get requests for people to get some sort of enforcement within an area, and oftentimes it's the actual property owners within that area that end up getting the brunt of the speeding tickets. So I would just say, careful what you wish for. But, that's one thing that we could do. I don't know beyond enforcement, what else we might do.
Where we see the issues are at the curves of our streets, and all of them have almost 90-degree curves in them. Is it the case that turns like that cannot be slowed down in terms of their speed limits?
We can put some informational signage. You may notice around town there are certain signs in orange that would say, have a curve sign on it with 20 miles per hour. That's a suggestion. It's not something that can be enforced per se, but it would indicate that people should drive slow. It's a cautionary sign.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's some specific locations that you would like to request those, we certainly could entertain that and talk to the highway department about installing them.
Mm-hmm. What would be the process to petition for that?
I'd simply write a letter to the town board or to my office making that request. Just make a formal request by email or snail mail.
Mm-hmm.
And be specific on which curves you're talking about. So,
Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for coming in, Peter. Anyone else wish to address the board? Yes, sir.
My name is Nick Pearson, and I live in Barnes Landing, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. I'm wondering whether or not the board has given any additional consideration to expanding the ban on gasoline-powered leaf blowers to a year-round ban, as other communities have done for all the reasons that they have done: pollution, both noise and air. When they tune up and you have about 2 or 3 of them going at the same time, you can't even go outside. So I'm wondering where the board stands on that situation as of the present.
So as you may know, last year we instituted a ban on gas blowers during period from May through September as somewhat of a first step into those waters, if you will. We have continued to have individuals such as yourself contact us and request that we extend the ban. And I think that's something that the board will likely consider at some point.
Okay.
Just going into the period of time when the ban takes effect. And I would suspect that we'll probably take the matter up before next fall.
Good. Thank you. I would point out, as I'm sure you're aware, that because of the partial ban, the landscapers have the equipment now, the electric equipment. So they've made the investment. Now it's just a matter of making sure that they use it year round and not go back to where we have been.
Sure. And again, we wanted to do this in an incremental way to give people a time to amortize their equipment and to buy new equipment. So we will likely take the discussion up again before the fall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Coming in, Nick. Appreciate it. Do we have any callers on the line, Jason?
Yes, we do, and I will unmute right now.
Great.
Hello, David. You're back on the air.
Well, thanks for not forgetting about me. David Boone, I'd like to address two concerns. As I drive around to town, different parts of town, to do my work as a tax grievance consultant, I take notice of the ongoing new construction projects, and I am just appalled at how much building, structure, square footage on multiple levels, including lower levels, are being squeezed onto smaller and smaller parcels. I just drove down Miller Lane East the other day and was astonished by the picture of the house that's being built that's got 7 or 8 bedrooms and 7, 8, or 9 bathrooms with lower level bedrooms as well. I think it's time for the town to ask its new planning director to take an assessment of whether or not we have to do more in ratcheting down development in this town. Frankly, I don't know why someone needs 7 or 8 bedrooms in a single-family house. But apparently there are enough people with enough money, or builders, who think they can sell that to people. Another house that I saw proposed that's going up is on Hans Creek and Wooden Oak Lane. The size of these monstrosities and the paucity of land that they're being squeezed into should just really shock the conscience of the town board. It's time to take stock of what's going on. There's a massive amount of building, a massive amount of purchasing of vacant properties, and every one of them becomes not just a McMansion, but a mega McMansion. And it's time to look at the way the town is developing now and in the future. The second topic I'd like to bring up, I was looking at the agenda, as I often do, and I noticed what is an anomaly, clearly an error. You have 2 proposed resolutions, number 472 and number 481, that both would approve retaining counsel from the Goldstein, Reichen, and Houghton firm for continued work on the, let's call it the beach access litigation, the 2 2009 cases. And what shocked me, even more so than looking at the houses, is that any attorney would have the audacity to ask for payment at the rate of $750 or $850 an hour. The town has to simply say, no thank you. It is so far above and beyond any other pay rate for any other attorneys, and you have very many sophisticated, complicated cases being handled by quality attorneys at $200, $300, $400 an hour. But this firm, and it depends on which of the 2 resolutions you actually meant to adopt or consider, is going to be paid either an additional $25,000 or $75,000 for its various partners and associates, ranging from either $400 to $750 or from $500 to $850, and I have no idea which is your pay scale that you're actually considering. But you have to remember, this is the law firm that did such a wonderful job on the initial litigation. And by the way, if you look at the text of the resolution, it talks about work on these 2009 cases in the appellate division and the Court of Appeals. Well, guess what, guys? far as I know, there's nothing left in the appellate division or the Court of Appeals for those cases. The ongoing cases which involve an attempt at imposing injunctive relief or sanctions against the town for its failure to enforce, that's being handled all by different law firms. And I have yet to see recently any work product being filed with the court from this law firm that has the audacity to ask for another $75,000 or $25,000 at the rate of $7.50 or $8.50 an hour. So really, pull these resolutions, straighten it out, and see what the hell is going on. Thank you.
Well, it's funny you mentioned those two resolutions, Dave, but I think you got the numbers wrong. It's 473 and 482, and they are being withdrawn.
Well, I printed these yesterday afternoon. Maybe you've changed the numbers. You know, your
I think it may have shifted. I think it shifted by one number increase. It's 473 and 482 in today's agenda, and they're both being withdrawn, just so you know. We appreciate your comments, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else on the line?
We have no other callers on the line.
Okay, in that case, we will move on to resolutions offer. And David, are you taking the first resolution?
I am. I was going to take a drink.
Sure. It's quite a stack today. So.
It is. I'd like to offer resolution 2022-404. This is for warrant number 4A, the approval of claims in the amount of $2,084,458 and a utility warrant 4A in the amount of $76,728.08.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
405 is a secret determination bond for bonds for various projects, in which we have a consideration today for various bond resolutions to fund some of these projects. As noted, in such bond resolutions and these capital projects have either been reviewed pursuant to secret and are deemed to have no significant adverse environmental impacts and are classified as a type 2 action.
Do we have a second on the secret
Second.
determination? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
406 is a bond for $250,000 for ADA improvements to provide for Americans with Disabilities Act compliance of various town facilities. The PPU on this action is 10 years.
Second.
We have a roll call vote, please, Carol.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 407 is a bond for $200,000 for the reconstruction of the Old Stone Highway Bridge to authorize for a preparation of design plans and specifications for the reconstruction of the bridge. The PPU on this is 5 years.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Aye. Passed and carried.
408 is a notice of public hearing to amend Town Code 198 for peddling. Hereby that we direct that the public hearing shall be held on April 21st, 2022 at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
409 is the approval of various special event permits as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
410, retain law offices of Vincent Toomey for general matters for calendar year 2022, according to the CFES schedule set below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
411 is retain the law offices of Vincent Toomey for PBA matters for the calendar year 2022 at the fee schedule set below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2022-412 is approved publications. This is for protecting our children from screen addiction and substance abuse. This is a program that will be held on Wednesday, April 27th at 2022 from 6 to 8 p.m. at the East Hampton High School. And this will put publications in the East Hampton Star, Press, and Express. The amount is not to exceed $1,600.40 for those publications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
413 is to approve publications for Drug Take Back Day newspaper event. Drug Take Back Day is to be held on Saturday, April 30th, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the East Hampton Town Hall. And we will be publishing in the East Hampton Press, Sag Harbor Express, and East Hampton Star at a rate not to exceed $1,640.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
414 is accept the bid EH 22013 for food services and kitchen items from March 2022. This is going to Mavila Foods of New York Incorporated, Samtel and Son Incorporated, and Apico Paper and Plastics Incorporated for the various bids mentioned below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
415 is to amend facilities use agreement for training in the YMCA Aquatic Center for 2022, where per Town Board Resolution 158, the town entered into a facilities use agreement with the YMCA and the Aquatic Center for the East Hampton Volunteer Ocean Rescue. We need to adjust some of the dates in June. They need to be changed to the schedule as mentioned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
416 is to amend Chapter 152 Special Events Permit of the East Hampton Town Code. We held the public hearing on March 3rd, 2022. Consider the amendments, and upon those amendments, I offer a resolution to pass the amendments to Chapter 152.
Second.
151.
Sorry. Yes,
I
second.
apologize.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Don't get a paper cut.
Let's see. Page 35.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'd like to offer resolution 2022-417. This is a bond for $300,000 for drainage improvements throughout the town of East Hampton. The PPU on this is for 40 years.
Second.
Roll call, please, Carol.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
418 is a bond for $80,500 for various building improvements. The probable useful period of probable usefulness is 10 years.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Oh, aye. Sorry.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 419 is a bond for $1,280,000 for HVAC improvements to various facilities for upgrades and improvements. And the PPU is 10 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Yep.
Need a roll call,
Roll
right?
call.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 420 is a bond for $95,000 for sidewalk improvements throughout the town of East Hampton. The PPU is 10 years.
Second.
All in
Councilman
favor?
Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
421 is a bond for $500,000 for various improvements to the Montauk Playhouse. The PPU is 15 years.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
422 is a bond for $350,000 for various road improvements and construction in the town of East Hampton. The PPU is 15 years.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
423 is a bond for $1,355,000 for various roof improvements on various buildings in the town of East Hampton. The PPU is 10 years.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
424 is a bond for $3,250,000 for 2 new ball fields at 110 Stephen Hands Path, and the purpose, including this includes an expenditure of $1.75 million expected to be received from Southampton Hospital. The PPU is 15 years.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2022-425, as this is a schedule of public hearing for Duck Creek Farm Management Plan update. We had this discussion this past week. It also went in front of the Property Management Committee, and the management plan initially was done through resolution 2018-1402. And we would like to have this public hearing on April 21st, 2022 at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
426 is the appoint part-time groundskeeper 1 in the Parks Department, Robert Schneider, an hourly rate of $21, effective April 11th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
427 is to appoint seasonal employees in the Parks Department effective May 15th, 2022. Rita Alasan, Anna German, Maria Amelia Roman Gutierrez, and Stephen Verdugo, all to custodial worker 1 at the hourly rate of $22, and John Casell at groundskeeper 1 at the hourly rate of $21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
428 is to appoint part-time harbor master Drew Smith in the Marine Patrol Division at an hourly rate of $25, retroactive to March 20th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
429 is to pay out upon resignation for Mauricio Palamodes he recently resigned from his full-time position as groundskeeper 1 in the Parks Department effective May 11th. He had accrued 58.87 hours of compensatory time, less overuse of 6.76 hours of vacation hours at the hourly rate of $21.99 for a gross total of $1,146.13 payable to Mauricio Palomondes as a final payout.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
430 is authorized payment of 2021 invoices for the Highway Department that was dated from 12/24/2021 from Mike DeSuto and Sons in the amount of $275. Apologize.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
431 resolution is authorized payment for 2021 invoice for the Highway Department, which was dated 12/21/21. And it is going to ARI Automotive Rentals in the amount of $170.70.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2022-432. This is the authorized payment of 2021 invoice in the Highway Department, which was dated 12/16/21 for automotive rentals in the amount of $929.60.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
433 is a notice of bidders for EH 22017 for portable toilets, rental and servicing for 2022. The bid is available April 7th, 2022, and the bid is due back April 28th, 2022. Any questions, please contact our purchasing department at 631-324-4141.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
434 is a notice of bidders for EH 22-015 for mobile food concession for Gin Beach 2022. The bid is available April 14th, 2022. Bid is due back April 28th, 2022. If there's any questions, please contact our purchasing department at 631-324-4183.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
435 is the AR property restoration bid. This is bid number EH 22-019. The bid is available April 7th, 2022. The bid is due back April 28th, 2022. There is a pre-bid meeting on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 11 a.m. on site at 81 Ocean Avenue. And if you have any questions, please contact our purchasing department at 631-324-4183.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
436 is a notice of bidders for EH 22-018. This is the Stephen Hans Path Ball Fields. Bid available April 14th, 2022. Bid is due back May 12th, 2022. Any questions, please contact our purchasing department at 631-324-4183.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
437 is a set bid EH 22-008 Gilbert Property Demolition to Ken Rosell. And this is for demolition in the cost of $59,714.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
438 is a set bid EH 22-003 mobile food concessions for town beaches for 2022 to Liliana Fasanella from Fasanella Productions Corp. at Ditch Plains Westerly parking lot, and also for Victoria Hoffman at Savour Eats at Kirk Park. Ms. Fasanella will be paying for 3 seasons at $42,222, and Ms. Hoffman will be paying for Kirk Park for the amount of 3 seasons for $10,033.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
439 is extend the contract EH 20-013 annual contract for cesspool cleaning and tank pump out for tank pumping of 2020 for environmental services incorporated at the rates so noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
440 is an RFP for EH 2022-103, a license to utilize agricultural land in Amagansett proposal. Bids are available April 14th, 2022, and due back May 5th, 2022. Please contact our purchasing department at 631-324-4183 with any questions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
441 is the authorized payment passed to invoices for Perico from invoices from 2019 and 2021 in the total amount of $1,872.64.
Second.
All in favor?
Underway.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
442 is retain law offices of James Ryan for 2022. Matters are tax and tax assessment for the calendar year at the rate of $200 an hour, not to exceed $35,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
443 is authorized payment of 2021 invoices for the Highway Department. We have for Granger for $29.73, another one for Granger for $740.12, and Teleshift in the amount of $2,634.66.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer my last resolution, 2022-444, is budget modification for the Highway Department. The town has been notified by the state that the town is eligible for $470,000 through the CHIPS budget. The budget was not expected or included in the 2022 operational budget. So we need to obtain the additional funding for the road improvements, we must complete the work. So to complete the work, we are going to be appropriating $470,000 in an appropriation of unreserved surplus and add it to the expense line for resurfacing materials for $470,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-445 is a bond of $1,438 and $1,438,650 for various projects. The different useful life, and you'll see in Schedule E that the PPU ranges from for different years, depending on the purchase.
Second.
All roll call vote, please.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Squire.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-447 is a permissive referendum. Town.
There's one
Miss
before that.
446.
It's all the way on
Sorry.
the bottom. 446.
I missed it too. Also going to
All the way on the, under
page
the
87.
schedule.
Page 87.
Do I have 87? I do. Oh, sorry, 446. It's a notice of public hearing to amend chapter, and this is mine too. This is my legislation. Oh my goodness. To amend chapter 102, the building construction. This is for clearing that we've had two work sessions on, and we are scheduling the public hearing for April 21st at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Now we'll get to the permissive referendum of 447. It is the town of East Hampton to Diana Rivera and Genesis Carino at 18 Stewart's Lane in East Hampton. This is the town of East Hampton is the owner of certain real property located at 18 Stewart's Lane in East Hampton. And the property is part of the Community Housing Opportunity Fund implementation plan. And a resolution subject to a permissive referendum and pursuant to the East Hampton Town Community Housing Opportunity Fund implementation plan authorizes the town board to lease the land that it owns for affordable housing purposes to Diana Rivera and Genesis Carino. This land is located at 18 Stewart's Lane and is more particularly described at the tax map. I won't read it. The participants shall purchase from the town of East Hampton all improvements on said subject premises for the agreed upon price of approximately $370,992. The underlying land will be leased from the town of East Hampton for the amount of the annual property taxes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-448 is to accept security and undertaking for urban renewal parcel 68 in SP-2-1. This is for Jorge Cruz at 15 8th Street in East Hampton, and the bond is for $24,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried.
Resolution 2022-449 is to accept security undertaking for Urban Renewal Parcel 1 in EH7. Applicant is James Camillo. It's for $13,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and
Aye.
carried.
Resolution 450 is to retain outside counsel Devitt Spellman Barrett LLP for 175 Atlantic Avenue LLC versus the Zoning Board of Appeals 2022. The payment to said counsel is at the rate of $200 per hour and an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried.
Resolution 451 is to retain outside counsel Devitt Spellman Barrett LLP in Ellis versus Town of East Hampton 2022. Said counsel shall be paid $200 per hour and not to exceed $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried.
Resolution 2022-452 is to authorize payment of 2021 invoices in the Sanitation Department. These invoices were dated December 17th, 2021 and December 30th, 2021. And these are from J.P. McHale Pest Management, which was formerly Premier Pest Control, which is why there was confusion in payment. And the total will be $162.50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carried.
Resolution 2022-453 is to hire an appraiser at Wellbone Woods. The town of East Hampton is considering the acquisition of a home previously constructed under the town's affordable housing program located within the town of East Hampton at 29 Boat Herders Lane in East Hampton. And the town wishes to secure an appraisal on this property to reflect the fair market value of the home and the land together and the land by itself. And the appraisal shall not exceed $1,100. And the appraiser is Clark and Marshall Appraisers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carried.
Resolution 554 is allocation of loan payments to the CHIP account budget line. Certain community development block grant funds were derived from repayment of loans created pursuant to the Consortium Home Improvement Program known as CHIP. And we are appropriation of for the CHIP reserves of $100,000 to the CHIP expenses for $100,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carried.
And I have Resolution 2022-455 to offer, which is a bond for $350,000 for charging stations. The bond resolution authorizes the installation of charging stations, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $600,000, appropriating said amount for such purposes, including $250,000 in grant funds expected to be received to pay a portion of said appropriation, and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $350,000 to finance the balance of said appropriation. The PPU on this is 5 years.
Second.
Carol?
Councilman Lees?
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac?
Aye. Pass and carried.
Next is Resolution 2022-456, and this is provisional appointment and promotion to Network and System Specialist 2 for Nancy Sarafin. And whereas the Suffolk County Department of Civil Service has given an examination for the title of Network and System Specialist 2 and has certified that the eligible list has been exhausted, fewer than 3 willing acceptors for the above-mentioned title, and where the town of East Hampton has requested and received permission to fill the position of Network System Specialist 2 on a provisional basis. And in accordance with CSEA contract, the position has been posted, number 22-6 from February 23rd through March 8th, 2022, and Nancy Sarafin meets the required qualifications for the position. And it is resolved that Nancy Sarafin be and is hereby promoted on a provisional basis to the full-time position of Network and System Specialist 2 at the hourly rate of $40.37, an $83,961 and 69.696 annually, which is grade 33 off-step for a 40-hour work week to be paid bi-weekly from budget accounts.
Second.
And this is just before we go on, it's retroactive to March 22nd.
Perfect. Thanks. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution
No,
450.
she has one more.
I have one more.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
2022-457 is a notice of proposal for the Cove Hollow Stormwater End of Pipe Technical Design. The proposal is available April 7th, 2022 and due April 28th, 2022. And you can obtain further information by calling 631-324-4183, which is our purchasing department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed, carried. Resolution 458 is a bond for $311,000 for communications equipment. The probable usefulness is 10 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried. 459 is a bond resolution for $950,000 for improvements to Second House Museum.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 460 is a bond for $511,000 for various court improvement.
Second.
Carol?
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 461 is a bond resolution for $735,000 heavy-duty vehicles and equipment.
Second.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 462 in the matter of the increase and improvement of facilities, Town of East Hampton Garbage and Refuse District, Town of East Hampton, and the County of Suffolk, New York, pursuant to Section 202B of the town law. There will be a hearing on.
I think we're off here.
Yeah, I don't think May 5th. Let me take a look.
May 5th.
May 5th,
It says May
at 2
5th. Yeah.
o'clock.
May 5th, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 463 is appoint full-time heavy equipment operator to the Highway Department, Jordan Renos. That would be an hourly rate of $25.04, $52,088.19 annually, grade 23, 40-hour work week, retroactive to April 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 464 is the list appointment and provisional administrative assistant, Allison McDougall. And that is at no change in salary or budget account,
Second.
retroactive April 2nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 465 is to amend Schedule A, regrade of titles. And that is for ordinance enforcement officer, grade 32, starting hourly rate at $33.36. Technical support representative, grade 18, $21.37.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 466 is a payout upon resignation. Randolph Kendall II, and that is at a 12 hours compensatory at $288.96 plus overuse vacation time minus $13.02, hourly rate of $23.99 for gross total of $275.94.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 467 is payout upon retirement. Mary Beth Fisher. Resolved Finance Office will issue a check. The amount of 5.75 hours sick time, personal time, for a total of $865.03, 16.49 hours of compensatory time, $589.31, prorated longevity in the amount of $807.69, less $74.91 for overused vacation time, for a gross total of $1,527.55.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 468 is budget modification, American Rescue Plan Act 2021 funding, and that is to increase the revenue line federal aid under ARPA in the amount of $60,000, and to increase the budget lines for East End Hospice, $2,000, Springs Food Pantry, $5,000, Eleanor Whitmore Early Childhood Center, $20,000, Educational TV, $33,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 469 is to approve the use of the American Rescue Fund 2021 Plan 2021 funding, whereas the town received total allocation of the program of $2,034,720.18, half of which has been received, and the remaining half will be received in 2022. Whereas the projects are herein assigned the following identification numbers required by the Treasury Department. And let's see, that includes resolve that the town allocates amounts specified below as supplemental funding that each receives from town annually. Again, that's LTV, $33,000, Eleanor Whitmore, $20,000, Springs Food Pantry, $5,000, and Public Health Response Mental Health Services, $2,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed carried. 470 is to approve payment of invoice for Cablevision, and that is in various amounts on various dates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 471 is to retain Devitt, Spellman, Barrett, LLP, Van Devere versus Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of East Hampton et al., 2022. And that is at a rate of $200 per hour in an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 472 is to retain law firm of Picano, Scahill, PC in the new singular 22 matter. And that is resolved that the town will pay said council at a rate of $200 per hour, not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. I'm withdrawing resolution 473. Resolution 474 is to retain law firm Picano, Scahill, PC, new singular versus planning board, St. Peter's Chapel, 2022. And again, that is for $200 per hour and not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 475 is continue retention of council, South Fork Wind LLC, Duncan Weinberg Genzer, and Pembroke, 2022. Jeff Genzer, Eli Elliott, and senior shareholders of council, $435 an hour. Other principals, $390 per hour. Senior associates, $320. Other associates, $280. Non-attorney professionals, $220. Senior paralegals, $190. And paralegals, law clerks at $175 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 476 is to retain Regano LLC as outside counsel, environmental counsel in the shipment case 2022. Partners, $300 an hour. Associates, $225 an hour. Paralegals, $50 an hour, not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed carried. 477, retain Regano LLC as environmental counsel for 2022. And that is not to exceed $50,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 478 is to retain Kaplan Kirsch for 2022. That's not to exceed $15,000. Catherine Van Hooven, $485 an hour. Partners, $485 an hour. Other associates, $345 an hour. Paralegals and law clerks, $190 an hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 479. To authorize repairs Blue Jay Way, whereas Blue Jay Way is a road not in the highway system, and Superintendent Steve Lynch inspected the road and deemed repairs necessary, the town board hereby authorizes the highway department to make necessary repairs on Blue Jay Way.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 480 is to amend Resolution 2022-348, retention of flight tech engineering for development and maintenance of special procedures for the East Hampton private use airport. And by resolution in 2020-22-348 dated March 8th, Town Board authorizes Cooley LLP as Aviation Council to retain flight tech. And basically what we're doing is we're going to retain them directly. And this authorizes the agreement. The financial impact is $80,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 481 is joint municipal bidding, Eastern Suffolk BOCES. This is to allow us to participate.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. That rate for 2022 is $2,972. 482, I'm withdrawing. 483 is an extension of RFP EH 2019-103, boarding services for dogs, veterinary care of East Hampton PC. Resolve the town shall pay veterinary care of East Hampton PC monthly sum of $2,000. And this relates to the boarding of dogs
Second.
that animal control might take in. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed carried. Resolution 2022-484 is to retain Cooley LLP for certain airport projects for 2022 and resolve the said legal fees shall be paid out of budget line from the airport for outside professional in amount not to exceed $1.5 million.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 485, extend contract EH 20-014, printing of envelopes and business cards, 2020, Montauk Printing and Ridgewood Press.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 486, reimburse Nancy Marshall, Assistant Town Attorney, for New York State Attorney registration fee. Excuse me, and that's in the amount of $375.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed carried. 487 is to issue a check, amend resolution 2022-247, approve purchase of refreshments for the police department. This relates to the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and that is in a total of $2,000, not to exceed $2,000.
Only food, right? Only kidding. Second.
I think there might have been some water or some other beverages involved.
Trying to liven this group up.
Yeah, this is for the police department, not the Friends of Aaron. Let's be clear. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. And I think there were something like 130 law enforcement agents that attended the parade, and so that was a complimentary little refreshment for them. 488 is to authorize agreement with Esri, and this is for ArcGIS maintenance for 2022, and that's in the amount of payment $900 for the services, and they're from various
Split
budget
between two,
accounts.
yeah. The second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed carried. 489 is to authorize equipment maintenance agreement, telephone equipment. Resolved town board authorizes the supervisor to execute agreement with Meridian IT at the cost of $4,150 for a 6-month period commencing May 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed carried. 490 is New York Tactical Officers Association training. And this is for Sergeant Bradley Rossi, Dennis Shea, Officer Joseph Izzo, Officer Luke McNamara, to attend the New York Tactical Officers Training Conference, sponsored by the New York Training Officers Association, and that is at Turning Stone Resort in Verona, New York, on April 25th through April 29th, 2022, and it's not to exceed $4,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 491 is to amend Resolution 2021 agreement with Hampton Hopper due to the increase in passenger demand a larger bus became necessary, increasing the daily rate to $1,297.85 beginning November 1 for a new total of $176,876.15 based on total number of service days as per the resolution 2021-1363. And resolved, town board hereby approve the amendment for the Hampton Hopper contract to reflect the amount not to exceed $182,067.55 based on 143 service days.
Happy to see an increase in need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 492, approve repairs Edwards Hole Road. Whereas Edwards Hole Road is not a road found in the highway system, Superintendent Steve Lynch has inspected the road and deemed repairs necessary. Therefore, the town board resolves to authorize the highway department to make necessary repairs on Edwards Hole Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 493, accept proposal of Drew Bennett, Brooks Park Design Development Plans and Bidding Specifications, and that is an amount not to exceed $17,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 494 is to approve agreement for her CAI GIS professional services. And let's see, that is for $6,000, not to exceed $6,000 for calendar year 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed, carried. 495 is budget modification of the airport. That is moving $13,000 from contingency to outside professional in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed, carried. We have a couple add-ons. Resolution ID 27566, retain Sokoloff Stern LLP as special counsel, Soto versus Tukolsky et al. And that is at a rate of $250 for partners, $230 for associates, $110 for paralegals upon properly submitted vouchers, an amount not to exceed $15,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution ID 27552. There's a correction to be made. The word whereas should be stricken and replaced with the word resolved. And this is to approve ordinance officers for noise certification. Rutgers University Noise Center training is conducted, requiring community noise enforcement certification, recertification for calendar year 2022. And is at a cost of $645 per person for a total of $1,290. Let's see. And then the second certification course is for $340 a person and $1,360, and for a total of $2,650.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Are there any other resolutions to offer?
I do not.
I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
A motion to go into executive session for advice of counsel. Is there any other?
I think that's all we have.
Okay.
Advice of counsel today.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Passed and carried.
Aye.
Stay safe. Be well, everyone. Thank you, LTV.
Motion.
Go into exec. We did that,
We
right?
did that, yeah. We made a motion to go into exec.
Understood.
now
And
make
then
one
I will,
to-
I'll end transmission.